I'm sitting in this ballroom, wearing my best blue dress, staring at a program booklet that just slapped me in the face. My name isn't anywhere. Not once. Not even in the tiny print at the bottom where they thank the janitor. But here's what they don't know. Every single thing they're eating tonight, every flower on these tables, every sparkling light above their heads. I paid for it all. My check. My money. My event. And they're about to learn that erasing someone who holds all the receipts is the dumbest mistake you can make. The woman at the microphone is Claudine Havers. Navy dress, perfect smile, the kind of confidence that comes from stepping on people for 30 years. She's reading my words, sentences I wrote at my kitchen table while my mother coughed in the next room. But she's saying them like they came from her own brilliant mind. Tonight, we celebrate the victories achieved under my leadership, she announces, and the crowd eats it up. They're clapping for work I did. Cheering for ideas I created. Raising glasses to honor a thief. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family, enjoy the story. I flip through this program again, hoping I missed something. Maybe there's a mistake. Maybe my name is hiding somewhere. But no, I've been completely wiped out. Erased like I never existed. The banner behind Claudine? I designed that. The reform proposals she's bragging about? I wrote every single word while working overtime and caring for my dying mother. My chest goes numb as the applause gets louder. These people have eaten lunch with me, borrowed my notes, leaned on me during tough negotiations. Now they're looking at her like she's some kind of hero, and I'm sitting here like a ghost at my own funeral. When dessert comes around, something shifts in the room. Claudine's speech hits its peak, and she gestures toward that banner, my banner, like she's presenting her masterpiece. The crowd gives her a standing ovation. Flowers get handed up to the stage. That's when she sees me. Our eyes lock across the room. She smiles, not friendly, not apologetic. It's slow and deliberate, like a cat that just caught a mouse. Then she leans toward the microphone and mouths something just for me. Don't worry, Marisol. You'll get your chance one day. It's not a promise. It's ownership. She's telling me she controls my future now. I smile back, but inside, something breaks. Not breaks like crying or falling apart. Breaks like a dam that's been holding back years of anger and betrayal. Because in that moment, I realized this wasn't an accident. This wasn't some printing error or last-minute oversight. They planned this. They stole everything I built and served it up like their own creation, thinking I'd sit here quietly and take it. But here's what Claudine doesn't know about quiet people like me. We don't just sit and take it. We document everything. We keep records. We remember every slight, every stolen idea, every time someone takes credit for our blood, sweat, and tears. And we wait for the perfect moment to show the world exactly who's been doing the real work. I drive home in complete silence tonight, with a crumpled program on my passenger seat and roses from their centerpiece sitting next to it. These roses smell too strong in my small car, like they're mocking me. But I keep them anyway, because they're proof of where I've been and what I've seen. My mother used to tell me something when I was growing up. Mari, the world will always try to forget the hands that held it up. Don't let them. Write it down. Keep your papers. Tonight, her words feel like a warning I should have listened to sooner. Because what happened at that dinner party wasn't random. It wasn't bad luck or poor planning. It was engineered. Calculated. And if they did it once, they've been doing it for years. The question isn't whether I can prove they stole from me. The question is how much evidence I've been accidentally collecting this whole time, and whether they're smart enough to realize they just declared war on the wrong person. Would you have stayed silent in Marisol's shoes, or would you have fought back right there in front of everyone? Comment below and let me know what you would do if someone erased your life's work while you watched them get applauded for it. I'm staring at this chipped jar with stolen roses at 3 in the morning, and I can't get that smile out of my head. Claudine's smile. The way she looked at me like I was nothing more than furniture in that ballroom. My apartment feels smaller tonight. Everything looks different when you realize you've been living as a ghost in your own life. The coffee mug from this morning. The stack of mail I haven't opened. Even my reflection in the dark window, it all feels borrowed, like I don't actually exist here. But I do exist. And I have proof. I walk to my home office, really just a corner of my bedroom with a desk my dad built 20 years ago. There are binders everywhere. Years of work stacked in neat piles, organized by project and date. My mother always said I kept too much paperwork, but tonight I'm grateful for every single receipt and draft. The dinner party program sits on my desk like evidence of a crime. I smooth out the wrinkles and read through it again, slower this time. Committee chairs, special thanks, honored guests. They mentioned everyone except the person who actually made it all happen. Even the caterer's name is in here. The flower shop got a shout out. But me? The woman who worked 16-hour days to make their precious union stronger? I'm invisible. My phone buzzes. A text from my co-worker Janet. Great party tonight. Claudine's speech was incredible. I stare at that message until the screen goes dark. Janet sat next to me during every meeting where I presented those ideas. She watched me type up notes, saw me stay late to polish proposals. And now she's texting me about how amazing Claudine was. The worst part isn't the betrayal. It's how easy it was for them to forget me. Like I was never there at all. I make myself a cup of tea and sit back down at my desk. My mother's voice echoes in my head again, write it down. Keep your papers. She said that every time someone tried to take credit for her work at the hospital, every time a doctor dismissed her suggestions, then used them in surgery the next day, she knew something I'm just learning. Powerful people don't just take your ideas. They take your history. They rewrite the story so completely that even you start to doubt what really happened. But doubt is a luxury I can't afford right now. Because sitting here in this quiet apartment, surrounded by years of documentation, I'm starting to see a pattern I missed before. This wasn't just about tonight. This wasn't just about one speech or one banner or one dinner party. They've been erasing me slowly, piece by piece, for months. Maybe years. Taking my work, filing off my name, and serving it up as their own creation. The question is, how long has this been going on, and how much have they stolen? If this was you, would you confront them tomorrow morning or wait and plan your next move? Let me know in the comments. I don't sleep that night. Instead, I'm hunched over my laptop at 5 in the morning, pulling up files I haven't looked at in months. Coffee's gone cold in my cup, but I don't care. I'm hunting now. The healthcare proposal from last year. I remember writing that thing during Christmas break while everyone else was at parties. Took me 3 weeks of research and late nights. My fingerprints are all over the original draft, literally. Coffee stains, handwritten notes in the margins, my signature scrawled across the top. I open the final version, the one they submitted to the board, and my stomach drops. Same words. Same structure. Same everything, except the author field says Claudine Havers, and the timestamp shows she created it at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was home with my mother that Tuesday. She had pneumonia, and I never left her side. My hands shake as I click through the document properties. Last modified by C. Havers. Original author C. Havers. Like I never touched it. Like those 3 weeks of my life just vanished. But here's what they don't understand about people like me. I keep everything. Original drafts, email chains, calendar invites. I'm obsessive about documentation because my mother taught me that paperwork is the only thing that can't lie. I dig deeper into my files. The pension reform proposal from 8 months ago. Same thing. My ideas, my research, my late nights, but their names all over it. The workplace safety guidelines I wrote after Maria got hurt on the job. Claudine's signature at the bottom. Every single major initiative I've worked on has been stripped clean of my involvement. This isn't carelessness. This isn't an oversight. Someone went into these files systematically and erased me from my own work. Someone who had access to our shared drives, who knew my login schedule, who understood exactly how to make it look like I was never involved. I check the metadata on a dozen more files. The pattern is always the same. Documents created by other people at times when I can prove I was somewhere else. Digital fingerprints scrubbed clean. My contributions vanished like they never existed. The sun comes up while I'm sitting there, staring at years of theft laid out across my computer screen. My neighbors are probably getting ready for work, making breakfast, living normal lives where their accomplishments belong to them. But I'm living in a different world now. A world where I'm discovering that my entire career has been built on quicksand, where everything I thought I'd achieved has been quietly transferred to someone else's resume. I print everything. Original drafts, doctored files, screenshots of metadata. The evidence piles up on my desk like artillery for a war I didn't know I was fighting. But now I know. And knowing changes everything. Have you ever had your hard work stolen like this? Drop a comment and tell me how you found out someone was taking credit for your efforts. The next week turns into an archaeological dig through my own life. Every morning before work, every lunch break, every evening after dinner, I'm excavating years of buried theft. Email trails that suddenly stop mid-conversation. Meeting invites that show up in other people's calendars but disappear from mine. Shared documents where my edit history has been mysteriously scrubbed clean. It's like watching someone carefully dismantle your existence, one digital breadcrumb at a time. I find a draft of the diversity initiative from 2 years ago. My handwriting fills the margins with ideas about mentorship programs and inclusive hiring. But when I check the final version they presented to the board, those same ideas appear under someone else's name with a timestamp from a weekend I was out of town at my cousin's wedding. They didn't just steal my work. They stole my weekends, my sick days, my family time. Every moment I wasn't physically in the office became an opportunity for them to rewrite history. The deeper I dig, the more I realize how organized this was. Someone had to coordinate these changes across multiple platforms and accounts. Someone had to know my schedule well enough to time the edits perfectly. Someone had to understand our filing system, our shared drives, our backup procedures. This wasn't one person operating alone. This was systematic. I start keeping a spreadsheet. Date, document title, original author, modified author, timestamp of changes. Each row represents another piece of my professional life that got redistributed to people who showed up after the hard work was done. By Thursday, I have 43 entries. 43 times someone reached into my career and helped themselves to my efforts. The pattern becomes clear around entry number 20. Most of the theft happened during predictable times, when I was caring for my mother during her illness, when I took vacation days, when I was out sick with the flu last winter. They knew when I wouldn't be monitoring my files. But the worst discovery comes on Friday afternoon. I'm going through old email threads when I find a message chain I don't remember, probably because I was never supposed to see it. It's between Claudine and 2 board members, dated 6 months ago. The subject line, Marisol situation. My blood goes cold as I read their words. She's doing good work, but she's not leadership material. Too quiet, too focused on the details. We need someone with more presence to present these initiatives. Someone replies, Can we just use her research and have Claudine deliver it? Best of both worlds. Claudine's response, already in progress. She'll never know the difference. I stare at that email until the words burn into my retinas. They planned this. They sat in meetings and decided my work was valuable, but my face wasn't. They wanted my brain but not my voice. They turned me into a ghost on purpose. My hands are shaking as I screenshot the email thread. This isn't just theft anymore. This is conspiracy. This is a group of people who looked at my contributions and decided I didn't deserve credit for my own life. But they made one mistake. They documented their crime in writing, and they forgot to delete me from the email chain. Now I have proof that this was intentional, planned, coordinated, and I have names. Would you keep this quiet and handle it internally, or would you expose them publicly? What would you do if you discovered people were conspiring to steal your work? Let me know in the comments. I can't carry this alone anymore. The weight of all this evidence is crushing me, and I need someone who understands how the system works. Someone who won't dismiss me or tell me to just let it go. That's how I end up calling Jonelle Ruiz. I know her from the courthouse filing desk. She's the paralegal who always catches details everyone else misses. Sharp eyes, quiet demeanor, the kind of person who notices when documents don't add up. I've watched her work, and she has this way of seeing through bureaucratic nonsense that gives me hope. I ask her to meet me for coffee at the diner on 5th Street. Neutral territory, away from the courthouse and the union office. Somewhere we can talk without worrying about who might overhear. Jonelle shows up exactly on time, carrying a thick folder and wearing the expression of someone who's seen enough workplace corruption to know it when she hears it. She orders black coffee and leans back in the booth, waiting for me to explain why I called. I start carefully, testing the waters. Have you ever seen a case where someone's work got reassigned to other people? She nods slowly. Intellectual property theft. Happens more than you'd think, especially in organizations where the power structure is unclear. That gives me confidence to keep going. I slide 2 versions of the same proposal across the table, my handwritten draft covered in notes and coffee stains, and the clean digital version with Claudine's name stamped all over it. Jonelle studies both documents for about 30 seconds before her face hardens. They're stealing from you, she says simply. And they think you won't notice. Relief washes over me. Someone else sees it. Someone else understands that I'm not crazy or paranoid or making this up. How long has this been going on? She asks. At least 2 years, maybe longer. I have documentation for 43 separate incidents. Jonelle whistles low. 43? This isn't opportunistic theft. This is systematic fraud. She pulls out her phone and scrolls through her contacts. I know someone who can help. Document forensics specialist named Elias Breyer. He works mostly with legal firms, but he's helped people in situations like yours before. What kind of situations? People who've been erased from their own work. He can trace digital fingerprints, analyze metadata, prove who really created what and when. If you still have your original drafts and files, he can build a case that would hold up in court. My heart starts beating faster. Court. I hadn't thought that far ahead, but maybe that's exactly where this needs to go. Can you set up a meeting? Already texting him. Jonelle's fingers fly across her phone screen. But Marisol, you need to understand something. Once you start this process, there's no going back. People will take sides. Your workplace will never be the same. Are you ready for that kind of fight? I think about Claudine's smile at the dinner party. About years of my work living under someone else's name. About that email chain where they called me a situation to be managed. I'm ready. Jonelle's phone buzzes. Elias can see us Monday morning, 9 a.m. at his office downtown. For the first time in months, I feel like I'm moving forward instead of just surviving. I have allies now. People who believe me, who understand what's happening, who know how to fight back. Bring everything, Jonelle warns as we get ready to leave. Every draft, every email, every piece of evidence you've collected. The more documentation you have, the stronger your case becomes. I nod, already mentally inventorying the boxes of files waiting in my apartment. As we walk to our cars, Jonelle stops and turns back to me. One more thing. Don't let them know you're building a case. Keep doing your job, keep attending meetings, act like nothing has changed. The element of surprise is the only advantage you have right now. What if they try to discredit me? What if they claim I'm the one who's lying? Jonelle smiles, and for the first time, it feels predatory instead of friendly. Let them try. You have the receipts. You have the timeline. You have their own emails admitting what they did. Let them explain that to a judge. Driving home, I feel something I haven't felt in years: power. Not the kind that comes from position or title, but the kind that comes from knowing the truth and having proof to back it up. Monday morning can't come fast enough. Don't forget to like this video if you're rooting for Marisol's quiet justice. Do you think Elias will be able to help her build a strong enough case? Comment below with your predictions. Monday morning comes with rain, but I don't care. I'm walking into Elias Breyer's office carrying 3 boxes of evidence and feeling like I'm about to change my life forever. His office sits on the 15th floor of a glass building downtown. Clean lines, expensive furniture, the kind of place where serious business gets handled. Jonelle meets me in the lobby, and we ride the elevator in silence, both knowing this conversation will either give me my power back or confirm that I'm fighting a battle I can't win. Elias looks exactly like what I expected: wire-rimmed glasses, shirt sleeves rolled up, the focused intensity of someone who makes a living finding truth in digital chaos. His desk is covered with multiple monitors displaying streams of code and metadata that look like another language. "Show me what you have," he says without any small talk. I start unpacking boxes. Original drafts, printed emails, screenshots, my handwritten notes from meetings. 3 years of documentation spread across his conference table like pieces of a puzzle I've been trying to solve alone. Elias picks up my healthcare proposal draft, the one with coffee stains and my mother's suggestions scribbled in the margins. He examines it like it's evidence in a murder trial, then opens his laptop and starts typing. "This is interesting," he says after about 10 minutes. The digital version shows creation timestamps that don't match the revision history. Someone went in and changed the metadata manually. He pulls up another screen showing lines of code I don't understand. "See this? The document properties say Claudine created this file, but the embedded revision data shows multiple authors. Someone tried to scrub the edit history, but they missed the backup logs." My heart starts racing. What does that mean? It means they were sloppy. They changed the author fields and timestamps, but they didn't know how to properly delete the forensic trail. Every keystroke, every edit, every save, it's all still here if you know where to look. Jonelle leans forward. "How many documents can you verify?" Elias starts pulling up file after file on his screens. For 2 hours, he dissects my stolen work piece by piece, showing us digital fingerprints that prove I created everything they claimed as theirs. "This is systematic intellectual property theft," he finally says. "Coordinated, deliberate, and thoroughly documented. Whoever did this kept records of their own crime." He turns his monitor toward us. "Look at this email chain you provided. Not only did they plan to steal your work, they discussed the timeline for doing it. This is conspiracy to commit fraud, and they documented it in their corporate email system." I stare at the screen showing months of stolen labor laid out in technical detail. Every file, every theft, every lie, all of it mapped and time-stamped and proven. What's our next move? I ask. Elias glances at Jonelle, then back to me. We could file a civil suit for intellectual property theft. With this evidence, you'd probably win. But litigation takes years and costs money. Or we use this as leverage. Sometimes the threat of exposure is more powerful than actually going to court. Jonelle pulls out her phone. I know someone who can help with that too. Judge Martinez handles employment disputes, and she doesn't have patience for corporate theft. As they discuss legal strategy, I feel something shifting inside me. For months, I've been the victim. The person things happen to. But sitting here, surrounded by proof of my own worth, I realize I'm not powerless anymore. I have evidence. I have allies. I have the truth. And Claudine has no idea what's coming. Subscribe if you want to see how Marisol uses this evidence to turn the tables completely. The injunction hits the union's accounts on a Thursday morning like a lightning bolt nobody saw coming. I'm sitting at my desk, pretending to work on quarterly reports, when I hear Claudine's office door slam. Then another door. Then shouting from the conference room. The entire executive floor erupts into chaos within minutes. Jonelle's contact, Judge Martinez, moved faster than we expected. The court order freezes all funding related to programs Claudine claimed as her initiatives, which means half the union's current projects just got put on hold until they can prove legitimate ownership. My phone buzzes with a text from Jonelle. It's working. They're scrambling. I don't look up from my computer, but I can feel the panic spreading through the building like wildfire. Conference calls get scheduled. Emergency meetings pop up on everyone's calendar. The same people who applauded Claudine at the dinner party are now whispering in hallways, trying to figure out what went wrong. Around lunch, I finally see her. Claudine storms past my desk, phone pressed to her ear, speaking in the sharp tone of someone who's used to controlling situations that are rapidly spinning out of control. I don't care what the paperwork says, she hisses into the phone. Those are my policies, my initiatives. This is obviously some kind of clerical error. But it's not an error, and we both know it. The beautiful thing about legal injunctions is how they force people to prove ownership. You can't just claim credit anymore, you have to show receipts. You have to demonstrate that the work came from your hands, your mind, your time. And when you've built your career on stolen labor, receipts become a problem. By 3 o'clock, I hear the magic words. We need to see all original documentation for the healthcare proposal, the pension reform initiative, and the workplace safety guidelines. I almost smile. Almost. Because I have those original documents. In my handwriting. With my coffee stains. With timestamps that prove I created them when Claudine was on vacation in Florida. The rest of the day passes in a blur of hushed conversations and closed-door meetings. People who haven't spoken to me in months suddenly remember my name. Co-workers who praised Claudine's brilliant leadership start asking careful questions about project timelines. When I finally pack up to leave, I catch sight of Claudine through her office window. She's sitting at her desk, surrounded by papers, looking like someone who just realized the ground beneath her feet was never solid. For the first time in years, I sleep soundly. The next morning brings even more chaos. More frozen accounts. More emergency meetings. More questions nobody can answer without admitting they've been taking credit for work they didn't do. And through it all, I keep working. Keep showing up. Keep pretending like I don't know exactly why their perfectly organized world is falling apart. Because quiet justice doesn't announce itself. It just arrives, with paperwork and evidence and the kind of legal precision that makes lies impossible to maintain. Comment yes if you think Claudine deserves everything that's coming to her. The Union Assembly is packed tighter than I've ever seen it. Word has spread about the financial freezes, the questions, the investigations. Everyone wants to know what's happening, and Claudine has called this meeting to address recent concerns and misinformation. She stands at the podium looking polished as always, but I can see the cracks. Her smile is too tight, her voice pitched slightly higher than normal. She's performing confidence, but it doesn't reach her eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, she begins, we're here today to discuss some administrative complications that have temporarily affected our funding. Administrative complications. That's what she's calling systematic theft. I sit in the back row, 3 manila envelopes on my lap, waiting. Jonel is 2 rows ahead of me. Elias couldn't attend, but he provided something better, detailed forensic reports that even a lawyer couldn't argue against. Claudine launches into her prepared remarks about moving forward, staying focused, overcoming obstacles. The same empty phrases she's been using for years, except now they sound desperate instead of inspiring. Some people, she says, her eyes scanning the crowd, would rather create division than work together. Some people would rather point fingers than solve problems. That's my cue. I stand up slowly, and the rustling in the room quiets. People turn to look. Claudine's speech stumbles for just a moment when she sees me, but she recovers quickly. I have something for everyone, I say in a voice loud enough to carry to the front row. I start walking down the center aisle, handing out packets to each table. Not throwing them, not making a scene, just quietly distributing information like I'm passing out meeting agendas. The first person to open their packet gasps. Then another. Then the whispers start. Inside each envelope, side-by-side comparisons of my handwritten drafts and the final versions with other people's names on them. Metadata reports showing systematic manipulation of authorship. Screenshots of email chains discussing how to manage the Marisol situation. And the crown jewel, Elias's forensic analysis proving that every major initiative Claudine has claimed credit for was originally created by me, during times when she was provably somewhere else. These are lies, Claudine says, but her voice cracks. This is a desperate attempt by someone who feels overlooked to undermine our organization. But the evidence speaks louder than her protests. People are passing packets between tables, comparing documents, checking timestamps. The same board members who nodded along with her speeches are now studying proof that those speeches were built on stolen work. Janet, my coworker who texted me about Claudine's incredible speech, looks up from her packet with shock written across her face. She remembers now. Remembers watching me write these proposals, remembers me staying late to perfect these initiatives. The room fills with a different kind of energy. Not the applause Claudine expected, but the uncomfortable silence of people realizing they've been fooled. The evidence is all there, I say from the center of the room. Dates, timestamps, original drafts in my handwriting. 3 years of work that somehow ended up with other people's names on it. Claudine tries to regain control. Anyone can fabricate documents. Anyone can make false claims. But Jonel stands up from her seat. The metadata analysis was performed by a certified forensic specialist. The court has already reviewed this evidence as part of an ongoing investigation. The word court changes everything. This isn't workplace drama anymore. This is legal. This is serious. This has consequences that go beyond hurt feelings and office politics. Board members start whispering among themselves. The union president calls for a recess. Claudine steps down from the podium, her carefully constructed authority crumbling in real time. As people file out, still clutching their packets of evidence, I hear fragments of conversation. I remember her working on that proposal. She was here every night that week. How did we not see this? For the first time in years, people are seeing me. Really seeing me. Not as background furniture or a reliable worker bee, but as the person whose ideas built the organization they thought someone else created. Claudine passes me on her way out, and this time, she's not smiling. "This isn't over," she whispers. "But we both know it is. Would you have gone public like Marisol, or would you have handled this behind closed doors? Let me know in the comments." The phone call comes 3 days later. Union President Sarah Chun, voice tight with the kind of professional courtesy that means serious business is about to be discussed. "Marisol, can you come in for a meeting? We need to discuss the recent developments." I arrive at the conference room to find the entire executive board waiting. Sarah at the head of the table, looking like someone who's just discovered a massive problem in her organization. The other board members scattered around, some avoiding eye contact, others studying documents I recognize as my evidence packets. Claudine isn't there. Her absence fills the room like smoke. "We've reviewed the materials you presented," Sarah begins. "We've also had our legal team examine the forensic analysis provided by Mr. Breyer." She pauses, choosing her words carefully. "The evidence is conclusive." Conclusive. Such a clean word for years of theft. "We want to resolve this matter quickly and quietly. No media attention, no further legal action, no public scandal." Board member Thomas Rivera slides a folder across the table. "We are prepared to offer a substantial financial settlement. 6 figures. Plus a reference letter that would open doors anywhere you want to work." I don't open the folder. "What about acknowledgement?" "I'm sorry. My name, my work, my contributions to this organization. What about acknowledging that I created the policies and initiatives that everyone's been praising for the past 3 years?" Uncomfortable glances get exchanged. Sarah clears her throat. "That would be complicated. There are multiple stakeholders involved, public records that would need to be amended." "You mean it would be embarrassing? It would be disruptive?" I lean back in my chair, studying faces that have spent the last week scrambling to contain a crisis they created. "Let me understand this. You want to pay me to disappear quietly, so nobody has to admit that your star performer built her career on stolen work." "Marisol, be reasonable. I am being reasonable." I push the settlement folder back across the table without opening it. "I don't want your money. I want my name restored to the work I created. I want official acknowledgement that the healthcare proposal, the pension reforms, the workplace safety guidelines, all of it came from me." The room goes silent. Board members shift in their seats like children who've been caught breaking something valuable. "That's not really feasible," Thomas says. "The administrative burden alone. Then we go to court." Those 4 words change the entire dynamic. Suddenly, they're not negotiating from a position of power anymore. They're trying to avoid public humiliation, media attention, and legal fees that could bankrupt the union. Sarah's voice gets softer, more accommodating. "What exactly are you proposing?" "Official amendments to all records. My name as primary author on every document I created. Public acknowledgement at the next union assembly. And a formal apology for the systematic theft of my intellectual property." "And Claudine?" "That's between you and her. But she doesn't get to keep credit for work she stole." More uncomfortable silence. More exchanged glances. More whispered conversations I'm not supposed to hear. Finally, Sarah nods. "We'll prepare the amended documentation. The acknowledgement will be made at next month's assembly." "And Claudine?" "Ms. Havers has decided to pursue other opportunities. Her resignation was effective immediately." I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. But then I remember that smile at the dinner party, the years of watching her accept applause for my work, the email calling me a situation to be managed. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just quietly restores what was always yours to begin with. As I leave the conference room, folder of amended documents in hand, I realize this was never really about revenge. It was about reclaiming my own story. About refusing to be erased from work that came from my mind, my dedication, my sleepless nights caring for my mother while still building something meaningful. They can offer all the money in the world, but you can't put a price on seeing your name where it belongs. Hit like if you believe in quiet justice over loud revenge. 6 months later, I'm standing in my mother's old room, packing up the last of her things. She passed peacefully in her sleep 2 weeks ago, and I've been putting off this moment ever since. In her desk drawer, I find a folder labeled Mari's work in her careful handwriting. Inside are printouts of every major proposal I ever wrote, every policy change I helped implement, every initiative that made our union stronger. She kept copies of everything, even when I was too busy to notice my own accomplishments. There's a note paper-clipped to the healthcare proposal, "So proud of my brilliant daughter. The world needs more people like you." She knew. Even when I felt invisible, even when others took credit, she saw my value. The union assembly that finally acknowledged my work was anticlimactic. No standing ovation, no dramatic speeches. Just Sarah Chun reading a prepared statement about correcting administrative oversights in our records and restoring proper authorship to various union documents. But it was enough. My name is back where it belongs. The policies I created carry my signature. The initiatives I developed acknowledge my contribution. Claudine never showed up to another union event. Word is she moved to Seattle, found work with a non-profit where nobody knows her history. I hope she learned something from what happened, but honestly, I don't spend much time thinking about her anymore. The real victory wasn't destroying her career. It was rebuilding mine. These days, people approach me differently. They ask for my input on proposals, invite me to lead committees, value my opinion in ways they never did when I was just the quiet woman who did good work behind the scenes. I've learned something important about being erased. It only works if you let it. The moment you start documenting your worth, collecting evidence of your contributions, refusing to accept invisibility as the price of being helpful, everything changes. Quiet people like me, we're not weak. We're careful. We're thorough. We keep receipts. And when the time comes to fight back, we don't need to shout or break windows or throw punches. We just present the truth, backed by evidence that can't be argued with or explained away. My mother was right about keeping papers, about writing things down, about never letting the world forget the hands that held it up. Documentation is power. Memory is power. Truth is power. And sometimes, the loudest revenge is silence backed by evidence that speaks for itself. If you've ever had your work stolen, your contributions ignored, your value overlooked, know this: keep your drafts, save your emails, document your involvement. Trust your memory. Believe your worth. Because the people who try to erase you are counting on you to stay quiet, to accept less, to disappear without making waves. Don't give them that satisfaction. The night they ditched me at that dinner party, unaware I'd paid for it all, they thought they were celebrating their triumph over someone too small to matter. But they were actually celebrating the moment I decided to write myself back into my own story. And that story isn't over yet. It's just beginning. I tell this story not for applause, but as a warning and a promise. A warning to anyone who thinks they can build their success on someone else's work. Paper remembers, metadata doesn't lie, and truth has a way of surfacing when you least expect it. And a promise to anyone who's ever been made invisible: your work matters, your contributions count, and you have more power than you realize. You just have to be brave enough to use it. Subscribe now and turn on notifications. Next week I'm sharing another powerful story about someone who refused to stay silent when faced with injustice. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if your life's work was stolen right in front of you? Your stories inspire others to find their own courage, so don't hold back. Let's build a community where quiet strength gets the recognition it deserves.